going to make myself a vocabulary of marks, and I'm going to start with this, the paint scribble. And then I'll go on to do a painted shape. Now the painted shape is going to be the filled in painted shape with relatively defined edges. I've got a hard edge over here, I've got a little bit of a ragged edge over there, but there's no ambiguity about what comprises the shape. And while we're making shapes, why not a painted outline shape? So that just means an outline of a shape done in paint. The next thing I want to try is making a transfer. So I'm going to spread the paint on my palette, take a piece of plastic wrap, put it down on the palette, and then transfer it. Another way to transfer is with deli paper. Just put the paint directly on the deli paper. And then one thing you can do here, as I'm sure many of you have tried, is just scribbling on the back here. And that can make sort of an interesting print. See what happens with the ghost print. Okay, so that's the deli paper ghost print. And then there's always collage. For collage, I use matte medium, just acrylic matte medium. You can use a soft gel for this as well. I put the matte medium on the substrate pretty generously. Put the collage piece down, matte medium over it, and then just to stick it down extra well and to get out any air bubbles that might be lurking under the surface there. I do this and then wipe up the excess matte medium. And then there's lines. You can make fine lines. It's just an ordinary pencil. Here's woodless graphite that I use a lot in drawing. That is Cretacolor Monolith 6B. This is a Pitt pen. This is the 1.5 millimeters, so it makes a slightly thicker line here. And of course with fine lines you can do anything. You can make kind of awkward angular lines or sort of graceful flowing lines. And then there's not so fine lines. This is a water-soluble crayon, Caran d'Ache. I kind of like the character of this. It makes a sort of coarse, slightly awkward line. And there's always graphite, which has a similar character. You get sort of a coarse line with this graphite crayon. if I want to make a distinction between the lines and a scribble, maybe. There's a graphite scribble. There's a much finer graphite scribble. I could add to that a really fine one in just ordinary pencil. And then finally, as another element, I'd like to add pattern to this list. Of course, there's any number of ways you can make pattern. Here I'm just making a simple pattern with my paintbrush. I could make a pattern with my finger. And one more mark I want to add to this is a kind of loose line I make with this brush and golden high flow acrylic. You could do this with India ink, but I'm not sure if it would sit on top of acrylic. You could do it with acrylic ink, I suppose. This is holding it by the end and just kind of letting the line do what it's going to do. I just love this mark. There. So then I wonder what happens if I just take sort of a handful of these elements and use them almost arbitrarily to begin a painting or a series of paintings. So I've got the paint scribble. Okay. All right, there's the paint scribble. I have the painted shape. Okay. Maybe this plastic wrap transfer. And then I've got the fine line. And then I also have patterns, so I can make a pattern however I want. I might just use this brush that I have the high flow black acrylic on. This one I'm going to start with a deli paper printed shape. Smack in the upper left quadrant. I'm using my fingernail there to get a little scribbling in there. Alright. And maybe a paint scribble. Kind of amorphous there. I'm going to use a little water. And a painted shape. That's what I got here. Maybe some line. Now, one thing about using graphite for line is that if you then paint over it, it can smear. So one thing you can do if you have access to good ventilation or the outdoors is a little spray fixative. Just a little. And then a little pattern with the crayons. I think I'll do this loose line again. Try it a little smaller this time.